Welcome, fellow painters and decorators of the interweb. It's Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. I don't think I'm the only professional painter and decorator on YouTube, but sometimes after seeing some videos on YouTube, I don't think they're professionals. I think they're just painters. Am I allowed to say that? Will I get some dislikes for saying it? I don't know. I'm trying to help people here. Right, back with you. You've seen what the thumbnail is. We're going to try the Bedec Aqua Advanced Satin. I've previously videos over my left shoulder, my right, your left, you know, over that shoulder. Previous videos, product testing. I do like the Bedec. It's a lovely paint. It's an undercoat and 2 top coats. Previously we've tried it using the gloss. The gloss isn't 100%. If you've seen the videos in that list and you've watched the Bedec one, you'll understand what I mean. But I do like the Bedec products. The MSP is really nice, and this is not a bad paint either. It's a proper acrylic paint. It dries nicely. It's got body to it. Now, I've not done a review, and I'll use the term loosely. It's more of a case of me seeing what the paint's like and just telling you what my thoughts are going over a surface that you probably come up against when you're doing your painting. This is Doris the door. If you don't already know about Doris, Doris is saved from going into the skip. Yeah, it was a newish door, no paint on it when I first got Doris. Since then, well over 12 months. I want to say that Doris has probably got more paint on it than the Forth Bridge. Probably not quite, but you know what I mean. It's had a lot of paint on it. I know it's getting heavier every time I'm lifting it in and out my garage to do these videos. Right, where we are. I'm going to try this. It's proper acrylic, polyurethane enamel, and it's satin, brilliant white from Bedec. I don't get sponsorship or anything like this, but earlier on in the year I did win a raffle at Paintwell. If you want to know about Paintwell in Nottingham, got a video there. They've now got one in Long Eaton as well, so we've got one down at Collick/Netherfield on the Stoke Lane, and we've got one at Long Eaton in Nottingham, which is great. Now, I won a raffle and I got some tins of Bedec because the raffle was for Bedec paint, so it's not being sponsored, but I'm utilising the prize win for doing these videos. But that was earlier on in the year. Right, I'm not going to subject you to me coating up this door with the undercoat. Now, the undercoat is the same one for the gloss. It's the acrylic primer undercoat in white. Brilliant. It's a really nice acrylic undercoat. Now, we know what that's like going on, so if you've watched previous videos, you've seen me applying it to Doris the door. That's fine. What I'm going to do is just coat it up and then come back to you, and we'll start reviewing with the top coat, which is the satin. So that'll be tomorrow. Now, the drying time, I'll go back to that. The drying time, it's touch dry in 30 minutes, which is great, and then it's recoatable in 4 hours, which is lovely, because previous videos I've been complaining about 4 and 5 hours recoat times, but the 6 hours is really pushing the boundaries. We can coat with 4 hours, that's great. 12 hours, like on some videos, we're doing them next day. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to coat this door up, I'm going to come back the next day so it's actually had 12 hours to dry and cure. Also, I've got, as I said, I've got stuff on. I do work. I'm not just full-time doing YouTube yet. So we'll give it next day to recoat with the satin, and we'll do the same with the satin. We'll leave it as long as we possibly can to give it its second coat. Now, Doris the door, previous videos I've done Dulux Trade quick drying gloss, so we're going to do it over the section of there and also the Dulux Heritage. Now, if you've seen previous videos about me recapping on these, I thought these looked a little bit creamy. I thought they looked a bit creamy. They'd gone off. They were supposed to be white, and they are white, but they're not brilliant white. Yeah, that's in the other video. So I'm going to coat this up, and then next time you'll see me, it'll be giving it the coat for the satin. Is that all right? So I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night's sleep. I said you'd see me next day, but it's not. I just want to give a quick review so I don't forget. Doris the door, half of it was a gloss there, this section, gloss, and then it was the Heritage eggshell. That undercoat has gone on a dream. Now, if you remember, if you're an if you're a decorator of years ago, can you remember how good the Dulux acrylic primer undercoat used to be. The water-based quick drying acrylic primer undercoat, that was a proper acrylic. That went on lovely. It gave lovely coverage for you, whether you went over with a water-based product or oil gloss, because you used to get away with an acrylic water-based quick drying undercoat and then an oil gloss. Back in the day, we've moved on. There's better paints out there. But that, the feel of that feels like you're putting on a nice paint. Does that make sense? A nice paint. Feels like it's got body. I know we're going over a white, so we're not asking it to cover too much over a dark colour. We have got that darker band, so it'll be interesting to see how it covers over that again. But that as a paint to be applied feels really nice. It feels like you're putting on a proper quality paint, and that's because it's probably got that proper acrylic content to it. So I'm not worried about that being a base for what I'm going over now, because this is going to be, I won't say a walk in the park. This is going to be this is a lovely review. It's Bedec Satin going over itself, i.e. itself being its own hand in glove undercoat. Should be fine, shouldn't it? But no, the application of that, there's a nice open time. I could feather it back across these edges when I need to blend it back in for laying off. It's a nice undercoat, and don't get me wrong. Well, I'm not sure how much the Bedec is. It's a mid-range paint. It's not expensive, it's not too cheap, but if you've not tried it, I would say give Bedec a go, because they've got a nice range of paints. And you know what I'm like with that MSP. How good is that MSP on that product testing it, the scratch test on a UPVC panel? Very interesting. So yeah, you will see me tomorrow now for the top coats. Bye bye. It's another day. I didn't subject you to seeing the video of painting that, but that Bedec, and it's the Aqua Advanced primer undercoat in white that I used as the base, going over previously water-based products, white, and we're seeing what this satin's like, because I want to see what the satin's like this time. Now, it's an undercoat and 2 top coats, I keep telling you that. Again, I'm not going to show you this video of me painting the door with this first coat. I'll do it for the final coat. But just to sum up, because I did a bit of a sum up yesterday when I'd applied it and it had gone off. That is a lovely flat finish, what you'd expect for an undercoat. It'll give a good sound base for the satin to go over it, and it is 2 coat satin. Don't try and bump it and go for one. Let's do it properly. I want to see what this paint's like going over white paints. There's a little bit of grin in there on the undercoat, slight, negligible, but on the whole, the coverage of that proper acrylic primer undercoat is not bad at all. So if you bear with me, I'm going to get this coated up, and I'm going to say have a good evening. I'll see you on the next section of this, where we'll finish it off and do a full review. But the undercoat's not bad. Let's hope this second coat, i.e. first of the top coats of the satin, goes on all right. So yeah, bear with us on this one. You know what I'm like, I always like to give first initial thoughts after I've applied a paint that I've not applied before. I will come back with the second coat tomorrow, but the application of that, this satin, and I've got to hold my hand up, I've not actually used the satin enamel before. It says on the side, excellent flow, quick drying, interior exterior use, non-yellowing, which is good if you've seen some of my other videos about yellowing paints. Long lasting, it's trade paint. Right, over that undercoat I did mention about the grinning, just slight on the mouldings. The application of that satin's gone on really nice. It feels quite thin when you mix it up. Not thin, but it feels thinner than some of the other paints that I've been testing over the last few months. But when you put it on, it feels like you're putting on a proper paint. So if you're a painter and decorator, and I say to you, it feels like a proper paint's being put on, you know what I mean, don't you? But that's had one satin coat over that undercoat, and the way that looks in a wet state, looks like it's covered that you won't need another one, I'm going to give it another one because I said I'm going to do the proper process. 1 undercoat, 2 top coats. My mouldings, they look covered, so a second coat over that's going to be near perfect. My only thing that I've got coming through, I've got a little bit of a bleed where I've used a marker pen to mark up some of the paint samples that I've done before. You've seen probably previous videos. If you haven't, just have a look at the product testing. I've done quite a few over these last few months. But on the whole, that looks a really nice paint. Let's see what it's like tomorrow when it's dry and I give it a final coat and you'll see me painting a door. I'll fast forward it, but I'm impressed with that. If you've not tried it, I'm going to be saying you need to be trying it, so I'm impressed. Right, I will see you tomorrow now. It'll blur out and it'll be the next day. It'll be like a microwave sleep, won't it? Here we are with the next day. So we've done, and I didn't subject you to see me paint it, but I will do now. We've done the Bedec undercoat, as you know. We've done the first coat of the satin, and we've just blended through from the last video, just talking about that first coat of the satin, and now we're into the final. So I'm going to crack on with this. It's actually dried really nicely. Let's zoom in a bit more. I'm going to paint this half door for you. So I'm working out the tin because I've not got much left in the tin now, so I can work out of it. I don't mind doing that. Feels very thick in the tin. Feels like a proper paint. Right. I'm going to say that is one of the nicest paints out of all these tests that I've been doing these last few months. That's one of the nicest paints that I've applied by brush, and the brush I'm using an arrow-worthy slash cut. Let's write that down. That has gone on a treat. Now we know this 1 coat primer stroke undercoat and 2 top coats. That went over a white paint. You know, we weren't doing dark colours or anything like that. The primer went on nice, the second coat was nice, and that third coat, i.e. the 2 top coat, the third coat, the opacity on that, second to none. I've got no, on my mouldings I've got still nothing grinning through, which I wouldn't expect with 3 coats, but there's always that tendency that it just looks a little bit grinny on these mouldings round there. Now you're seeing just a white door. I don't know how well you're actually seeing it on the camera, but that, talk about impressed. I'm going to wash my brush out and come back when it's dried off, because as we're finding, these paints, half an hour they've gone off. So I'll go and do a few bits and bobs and I'll come back and we'll see what it's like when it's dry. But interestingly, you know where I'd got the marker pen? The marker pen's starting to disappear. I'd expect that marker pen to bleed through with time. But the sample that I've still got down at the bottom is the no nonsense. Satin quick dry. We've got a lot of marker pens still showing through on that, which I'd expect. Marker pens, indelible marker pens, are ones that bleed through. You need to, I've asked questions before, what would you do if you got indelible marker pens, permanent marker pens marking your woodwork? I'm not going to give you an answer. I want you to give me some comments on what's your treatment. What's your treatment for bleed. You know what I mean, marker pen bleed, wax crayons bleed. Tell me what you do. Let me go and wash that brush out, but I'm well impressed. Am I impressed because it's a proper acrylic paint and not hybrid? Quite possibly, quite possibly. I washed the brush out, I've got a spotlight on me now just to light me up a bit better. Washed the brush out, washed it out fine, I've said that all the way through the video. But we're just tacking off now, it's just starting to go off. We've got a nice sheen to it. I'd actually say, yeah, probably a little bit better than that no-nonsense satin. But for me, and this is my roundup, this is one of the nicest paints that I've put on for a long while. The application of it goes on lovely, I keep saying it. But the body of the paint, it goes on like you're putting a proper paint on. It doesn't feel like you've got a thin paint that's not covering. It feels like you're actually putting paint on the surface. And how that's covered around these mouldings, and even down to the flow out, and I'll call it flow out, simple layman terms, the flow out of the bristle. You don't see fatty bristle marks from being water-based paint like you'd probably imagine years ago. It flows out nice, so it's very much like an oil-based paint. Well, it's not, is it? It's not a hybrid because it's acrylic. But what is nice is when you've got you joining up, we're not actually getting any brush marks that are flashing because it's gone off too quick, which is always a good sign with paint. And I know I'm only doing half a door, don't want to subject you to more than half a door, but I can tell off half a door what a paint's like with it being on these mouldings, with it being on these flats, and with it being brushed out into the, I don't know how to explain that. When you're laying off your bristles into paint that's already been applied and you're feathering it back again. You know what I mean? It's all to do with the laying off. But on a door, it's giving me a bit of everything. If I was doing a room, I couldn't really explain a room any better than what I'm doing on a door. So that's why we've got Doris the door. So my roundup on this is, if you've not tried the Bedec Aqua Advanced Satin, please give it a go, because as a paint, 3 coats, that's covered lovely over Doris the door. And I know I was doing it over a white, and that's why I wanted to test it, because a lot of the jobs we go to are going over whites and light colours. And if that's the case, this has been really good. Give it a go. Places like Paintwell sell it. I don't know where else you'd get it, but I know Paintwell do it. Probably Brewers, I'm not sure. But let's round up. You know, I'll have some videos at the side of me there. Thanks for listening to me, thanks for the support, and I'm going to give a shout out to all the people that's given me super thanks. I'm going to try and put that money towards some more paints and testing out products, unless somebody wants to sponsor me. But other than that, yeah, I want to get some better editing software. What do you think? Do I need some better editing software? Maybe. There's the videos there. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.